Thanks, Angeli. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to day two. Honored guests, please have a seat. We're kicking off in style here this morning, I can tell you. Here's a question for our summit guests. If you had to think of a mega event that has most inspired you, what would it be and why? Of course, all of your events are mega in their own way, but maybe you've got a favorite. Let me tell you who our guests are in this first discussion. Next to me, engineer Abdulaziz Al-Ghanan is the Director General of the Riyadh Expo 2030. Many congratulations.
Thank you very much.
The world will come to Riyadh. We're hugely looking forward to it. We're going to hear more about it as well. Next to you is Jean-Guillaume. Jean-Guillaume Lacoste is the CEO, particularly for the Middle East and Africa region for GL Events. We'll hear the vast range of things you're up to there. Andrew Piercy leads the World Defence Show as its CEO, so right here in the Kingdom. We'll hear about progress. Relatively new by comparison with some of the events here, but absolutely magnificent nonetheless. We'll hear the details. And Rakan Tarabzoni needs little introduction to many of us. He's the Chief Operating Officer of the FII Institute. I've asked our guests to think of a mega event that inspires them. I don't see why we should let you off. Doesn't have to be business. Rakan, we'll come around. But Rakan, what do you pick and why?
As a mega event?
Yes, that inspires you.
Beyond FII, you mean?
Of course, yeah, that's the rule.
Well, to be fair, there's a lot on a global level. I mean, we always know the WEF in Davos, it's one of the largest in the world, and that's a school by itself. We believe ourselves to be the new version of the nonprofit organizations, that we have a twist to our events that takes it to a whole new level.
Yeah, I totally get that. So the World Economic Forum, absolutely legendary. Okay, Jean-Guillaume, where do you go?
Passion, I would say Olympics.
Yes.
Reason, I would say the COP.
The COP, as in the World Cup?
No, I said the COP, the Conference of Parties.
Conference of Parties,
yeah,
of course.
The climate world, the biodiversity or the COP combat the desertification. It makes sense?
Yeah, all right. Well, I'm going to insist then that Abdulaziz and Andrew don't pick an event that they're involved in, because I see what's happening here. Abdulaziz, a mega event that inspires.
Well, I have to be honest. Expo is the biggest, but what would come is the World Cup. I mean, Expo 6 months could reach 20 million visitors. Yes. The World Cup with 3 million in a month. So I see these are the two largest.
Yeah, and finally, Andrew, tell us, get our minds going.
Well, from an entertainment point of view, World Cup, and congratulations, Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
They're amazing. But from a B2B event perspective, which is similar to the World Defence Show, I would have said Mobile World Congress in Barcelona is a pretty amazing event to go to. They really showcase technology well, and really it's a great large event that helps the mobile industry.
Yeah, so let me just give you a moment's notice that this isn't just going to be about opportunities. I want to talk challenges on this panel today, but I'd like a little more colour on the range of work that you're covering. Abdulaziz, just remind us of the sheer scale of Riyadh 2030. What can we expect? Give us some, either through numbers or through missions, statements of intent.
Okay. I mean, it's been a year since Riyadh won Expo 2030 against very tough competitors. And I have to say, for the first time in the history of Expo, that a country won from round one, where Riyadh 119 votes out of 160, would just reflect the world's confidence of Riyadh to present unprecedented Expo for the world. What I would like to say is that we believe that Riyadh Expo will redefine the World Expo, or what World Expo can achieve, and we will inspire the future. And maybe this is big and ambitious, but under the leadership of His Royal Highness Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, Riyadh Expo will not just have the execution and organization of the World Expo, but also it's going to go to the legacy, and the legacy that will last forever.
And is there a dimension of Expo that we might not have expected before that you're particularly keen to push on, just in terms of how you take it to the next level? Where are we going?
As I told you, legacy will be, yes, we won But now it's come. We will execute it. We'll operate it. Then it's come to the legacy.
Right.
So the legacy of Riyadh Expo will last forever. That's for sure.
And we want to hear how you're sowing the seeds for that legacy. Andrew, remind us of the dimensions of the World Defence Show. Where have you got to so far? Just give us a sense of some numbers.
Yeah, so we've had 2 editions of the World Defence Show. It spreads over around about 110,000 square metres of exhibition space, plus another 100,000 square metres of courtyard and runway and taxiway where we display aircraft. Last show, we welcomed 120,000 visitors over the week. We've had 800 exhibitors, and it was a huge success. So it's a very, very large-scale operation.
And not in what was an existing venue either.
No, so important to mention, and with a lot of mega events, there isn't a suitable venue very often in the cities that you go to. So there wasn't one in Saudi, so we had to find a suitable location.
Right.
And we built a purpose-built venue for it.
Right. Now, Jean-Guillaume, you know a thing or two about building from scratch. The Paris Olympics would be a good example. Just remind us of the range of GL's work and what you're up to.
On the 3 core businesses that GL Events does, I would say the live business, which is service equipment for major events and for events. Yeah, Olympics was certainly one of the biggest one. We had to build something like 2,000 seats for the grandstands in the middle of Paris, which is quite challenging. We had to build 2,000 square meters of structure as well in the middle of the streets and the trees, and that was definitely a big challenge for us.
My goodness. Lady Gaga's dress, not your department.
No, that was not part of our job.
Fine.
Fortunately, good. I would say.
Understood. Okay. and then, Rakan, on stage yesterday, Rashad Atias described FII as more than an event, a movement. Let's draw on that.
Well, FII, when we started 8 years ago now, it was started as a mega event, conference that is, under the PF, as mentioned, Richard mentioned yesterday. But from day one, because of its unique model and a unique proposition, making it a global hub from day zero, it made it starting as strong with all audience from a speaker perspective, content perspective, and audience, the crème of the society of the world. That helped it to be the go-to event all over the world to know what's happening in the world in terms of investments, where should the investors community put their money, and in terms of geographies, in terms of industries as well.
Yeah.
And having it done in perfection, shall we say, from day zero, made it a go-to event, and the migration from all over the world to attend this event became a very important element. And today, I think, humbly, we set the standard on how conference should be done.
Understood. And it isn't just Riyadh, right? So just remind us globally, have a sort of surrounding supporting events.
Of course, yeah. I mean, Riyadh is our global flagship event, but then throughout the year we do mini versions of Priority Summits events. We call them Priority Summits, where we have around 800 to 1,000 audience, very focused geographically and sectorial in terms of with a theme under Priority Summits. We've done Miami a couple of times, third coming up in 2 months. Yeah. We've done Rio, we've done London, New York, and Hong Kong.
Yeah, so this is super helpful. Thank you. Thank you, Tim. So I wonder how honest we can get you to be about the challenges. Okay, so we're going to roll our sleeves a bit. We're in a gathering of our peers because we see the television images, we see the amazing outcomes, but the reality behind the scenes is that you are putting together some extraordinarily diverse ingredients to pull off a mega event. Abdulaziz, help us get started on the challenges you see or the challenges you face.
Well, let's go to the general. What's the challenges that face any hosting country is number of countries participating. And usually that's a very big issue. Even, the International Bureau for the Expo is put in what's called C agreement, trying to facilitate the participation in these on these countries, on the host country. But yet, always there's challenges. From the previous to the next, there is issues related to logistics, to customs. The world, the BIE is conducting several international participation management, and they did it in a region, like in Africa, in Caribbean, in Peru just last week. And for Riyadh, we wanted to understand these challenges, so to make sure that we elevate them, ahead of schedule. And that's just to make sure that we have the highest number of participants in Riyadh. I have to be honest, some of the challenges could be like COVID-19, which is something you control. Yeah. But if we started now, which is we are end of 2024, so we have like 4 years up to 28 to solve any issues related. So when we go to the Caribbean, we understood their challenges. Some of countries in the Caribbean, they just said it loud, we will not participate in the next expo. Yeah. We went to Peru, meet South American. There was the same message. What was the issues? It's all associated, around issues, customs, transferring food. It's always the issue between the hosting country and the government, local government.
Why don't we then pick up on that final point there made by Abdulaziz around physically getting things to a place, Andrew, because this must play on your mind a lot.
Yes, so one of the challenges we faced as the World Defence Show is obviously if you launch an international event of scale and size, you need a lot of equipment, and for our show we need to get military equipment in from other countries.
Yes.
That proves logistically very challenging. We need an awful lot of shell scheme to build things. So the supply chain is really, it's a challenge in a market which is, full of energy and, going to grow, but it's still relatively young, right. And the supply chain can't necessarily.
And on that then, forgive me, Andrew, what have you learned so far in the face of those specific challenges? What would you put out to our peers here?
Plan well ahead. Put in good partners. It's all about good partners with your suppliers. So get the right supply chain in place, build relationships up, make them feel part of the delivery. So
right. What
for
else?
me, that...
Yeah, let's have one more on supply chain, because it's so crucial to what's being discussed here.
One more learning.
One more lesson learned, yeah. How do we translate this?
I think, again, it's in terms of planning and making sure you do it early on, because at the moment you need to make sure all of the elements are in the country. Also, be aware that other events are happening at the same time. So you almost have a perfect storm, because for the supply chain, it's all great, but suddenly you've got 10 big events happening, and you can't get buggies.
Understanding that context. Come in, Jem. Yes, please.
If you allow me to jump on that, I do agree on what you said, and the challenge maybe here also is a lot of mega events are concentrated in a certain period, on the Q4 and the Q1.
Yes.
So that all these events are all together makes in preparation and the challenge of equipment and also people, manpower, right, is really critical.
Thank you, Jean-Guillaume. And if I asked you to pick a totally different challenge, where do you take us?
If I need to pick one, I would say sustainability. Sustainability is really becoming a reality, even if we are talking of sustainability for now 10 or 15 years. If I do a little bit of provocation, a lot of tenders coming from city, host city, or whatever, in regards with major events, there were a lot of, let's say, articles on sustainability, but it was a bit of greenwashing.
Yeah.
This is a reality now. If you don't come with solution in terms of sustainability, you won't pass. You won't be selected. And
so
that's
where,
really
and I don't want to steal the thunder of our next panel on this subject, but are you prepared, or please share an example of where your sustainable credentials for a particular bid you feel confident has won you that bid? Where would your mind take us?
I would say first is really written in the expectation of a host city. If you take the example of Paris, in the Paris bid, it was really clear in the way you're going to use and reuse the equipment that we will provide. Yes. We have 100% of the equipment that we deliver for the Olympics will be reused. Yeah. And it was a challenge, not only in terms of transportation or everything, but we know that all this equipment will be reused in France or worldwide. That's something that we had.
Yeah, good.
And we had a big pressure, I have to say, also from the people. If we have a challenge in sustainability, it's coming also for the young people, the young generation. Yeah. Because when you interview young people now, they still love our industry. It's still a cool industry, the event industry. But the question that they will ask you is, what do you do for the planet when you do a temporary event?
And that is their demand. Absolutely right. Rakan.
From a challenge perspective, for us, it's a little bit different, but it's usually how can we make the event relevant, exciting, engaging for the audience. So every year, we get the famous quote from everybody, this was the best FII ever. which means it's a lot of pressure on us. We have to make it a better FII in the next following year, which all goes down to the content. How can we be relevant? How can we be trendy related to the topics, the current affairs that's happening in the world from an economical perspective and investment perspective? And there's a big machine that starts from the beginning of the year all the way to October, building on the content, research on the best speakers, the related speakers, the topics that should be discussed on stage, and that changes a lot. So that's the challenge every year we have to go through in terms of content. In terms of production, I think we've added an element with our partners, RNA, who are the masterminds behind this, with Richard, of course. How can you add more than just the content and speakers on stage? The show business element, the production, these things adds value to the whole experience of the event.
Right, so on that, and let's start with you, Rakan, but others, please give us your view. Be as blunt as you like. We all want to deliver better and better events. To what extent does better mean bigger?
It's a delicate balance. It's never about more people. It's about having the right audience, the right speakers, the right content, the relevant audience attending the event. So our events have been between 5,000 to 7,000 people, more or less. But it's not about the number. It's about the quality of the audience. It's filtration to have the relevant people attending to the topic of the FII and the topics on stage. So for us, better means better quality of audience, better content on stage, better speakers.
Got it.
And most of all, the deals announced at the FII, because we don't allow MOUs at the FII. Only actual contractual contracts between two entities to be announced. And this year we've announced, I think, over $70 billion in terms of actual contractual deals, that's a tangible outcome.
Yeah, so we might come on to that sort of proof of success very shortly. But does anyone else have a view on that, better equals bigger? Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, so we have a very large scale event, but we don't specifically set out to make it large. The defense industry supply chain is large and the assets and equipment are large, therefore the show has to be large. I think there's a temptation in the industry sometimes to go chasing big numbers.
Yes.
And I think, again, the quality of trying to maintain a quality experience when you have big numbers becomes challenging.
Yeah.
So you have to, if you go chasing numbers and you don't have the quality, you end up with more people unhappy, and it doesn't do your event any favours.
But can I quiz you then on a different form of measurement? Because His Excellency and others made the point yesterday about the MICE industry being central to economic growth. But that won't be, no one's going to be persuaded by a series of anecdotes on that. We're going to need better numbers. So I'll just put you on the spot there, Andrew. How are you tracking the economic success of the events as delivered to the market?
Sure. Well, for the World Defence Show, we have a very clear link to industrial strategy by the General Authority of Military Industries for 50% localisation. So that is a measurement of industrial strategy and growth. So already we're at 20% in Saudi Arabia, so it's already achieving that target. That's not directly happening at the show, that's happening after the show, thanks to the partnerships and deals that are done. And then secondly, there's around, obviously, the direct impacts of jobs, GDP. And so I would always recommend that any event does an economic impact study, because it really gives you some backing to show the investment that you're putting into these big events.
So what is an example of a number that you are personally proud of so far?
In terms of World Defence Show, I mean? So, well, obviously the deals that we've done is around $7 billion worth of industry deals. We've generated 4,000 jobs directly from the show itself, and around 500 million SAR of additional GDP. That's what the economic impact study is.
Amazing.
Told us.
And in a way, Abdulaziz, I'm teasing him, but Andrew's got the easy job here because he can measure these things. For an expo, the outcomes are powerful and softer in some people's language. You're not necessarily tracking financial deals done. How will you and your amazing team know that the expo has been a success?
Well, to know the success, let's start with the planning. First of all, Expo, as you said, it's a large event, but it have to have a meaningful output. I mean, a meaningful input is very important. Therefore, Expo was divided into one theme, which is foresighted for tomorrow, and sub-themes that focus on specific areas like sustainability and the climate and clean energy. Then we're talking about different tomorrow and transformation technology. And again, the quality of life, which come underneath, prosperous people. So that's the measurement, is that if we could deliver a meaningful impact for Expo. That's what we're aiming to.
And the lens that we're looking through for that, clearly there's a Kingdom of Saudi Arabian lens, but what about the potential impact for the other countries involved? To what extent do you feel a responsibility to be delivering and monitoring that as well? Because it is a global event.
Well, I'm saying it. I think with respect to the history of Expo, Riyadh Expo will change the game. And I would say, I can say it will change how Expo operate.
Yeah.
How to have really, I'll go back again to the nature of Expo in 1850s, where it's about industries, where it's about innovations. Now it's more about, it's become an exhibition. We wanted to bring back again Expo to the nature. That's what's one of our goals.
The nature, right. Because that brings us back, I think, Jean-Guillaume, to that word of sustainability, in the sense that it means many things, because an event can live on too.
Yeah, yes, definitely. It's part of the legacy, I would say, of an event and of a major event. Yeah. We talk about the economic part of the legacy. For Expo, like for major event, it's going to be also the infrastructure. But when you talk about the social, and more than sustainability, I would say the social impact of a major event is very important. When you talk about the COP, for instance, all these conferences go with negotiation and with a result which is incredibly important for the planet and for the world. That's part of this kind of legacy that we were expecting for major events.
So what's your advice to us, Jean-Guillaume, for any mega event producer who wants to deepen the chance of a lasting legacy? What would your advice be? And feel free to join in on this, but I'd like to try and distill it to understand some of those ingredients.
I would consider doing a mega event or doing an event, because mega events, the chance that mega events have that they are leader, so they have to show the example to other events. Yep. But I would say it's a mix, and it's a real mix between the legacy coming from economic, employment, economy, cultural, tourism, with social and environmental. Even when you look at the development of sport, like after the Olympics, for any country, is the development sport. And behind the development sport, you've got women empowerment, which is critical. Yes. You've got health policy, because it's part of the policy of many countries. Yeah. And you have all the sustainability that you will leave to the planet. That's critical.
Yeah.
For us, it's interesting because having that legacy, we started from scratch. It wasn't building on anything before, but we set the standard today in terms of international conferences from a business perspective. And today, FII is the standard. Everybody wants to be an FII of this or that, which is, music to our ears, because it shows that we've said something that's really good and sustainable. From a sustainability perspective, it means that this event has to always be relevant. The outcomes has to be something that's actionable, not just theories and ideas, but something that can be taken out to the market and executed by different entities all over the world. And outcomes in terms of coalition discussions, theories and ideas that helps make the world a better place for everybody.
Yeah. With your permission, I'm going to switch gear, because my takeaway from yesterday was this incredible proliferation of events. Yes, here in the Kingdom and globally. So give us your top tips on standing out. And I don't know where to start on this, but I'll take an offer, and you can be as practical, as blunt, as pithy as you like. Go on, Andrew. I see you leaning in.
I would, for our show, there's a lot of defence shows across the market, so we very much have to look at our story and narrative. So I would always say, have your vision and story correct.
And how does yours differ then? Why does it stand out?
Well, because we talk about what's at the show. So if you have a clear vision of what the show's about, 50% localization, building innovation, then you can get that messaging out there and have a strong message going out. Secondly, look at what the other shows are doing and what your venue can offer others that can't. So we have a flying display. Other defence shows don't do that. So we have a lot of assets that we can use that gives us that differentiation. So pick your USPs and then get the messaging right so that you're hammering them out there through them.
Right, this is helpful. Let's build on this. Who will add to this list of ingredients? Jean-Guillaume.
That's something that we have seen that switch a little bit the things recently is there's a shift on the mega events with the impact of the events.
Yeah.
And to elaborate a little bit on that, that's very important, the power of social network has also on the events. Yeah. Because the way that we all have to think is not having just a mega event to have a numbers of people, which is massive, is the way we will relay, and in a very positive way on thinking about the social network, the way we will use the mega event or whatever event to relay information and message to an audience. And that's really critical on the impact that will have social network and all the data and the system that we want to relay.
No, that makes sense. Abdulaziz, I'd love to get you in on this, but Rakan.
Having a clear, unique value proposition, knowing what does this event stands for, and then don't compete with the others. Your competition is yourself. Don't try to be the other WEF or the other FII or the other Milken or any other conference or event for that matter. Be yourself and try to compete versus what you've done before, but with a clear, unique value proposition.
Yeah, understood. Because the fact is, Abdulaziz, the pressure is on guests for what they could attend. So it's having to rise above that, isn't it, and stand out.
True. I mean, again, talking about mega event, it's not, the success is not about the number of attendants. Even Expo will have more than 20 million visitors. But it's about the creative ideas, the meaningful impact that Expo can have in the world. That's what is really going to be measured.
So that has got me thinking that what we mean by that phrase of mega event is evolving all the time. So it's that sort of shifting characterization of what we mean by this. So in our remaining few minutes, I'd love to know very personally how you see that evolving. And what does that shift look like and feel like, if you like to you? Where are we going on that journey? Maybe Jean-Guillaume, I'll start with you and then we'll circle back around.
The future of the mega event is definitely, we talk about it, of the legacy and the sustainability and the what we want to leave to the young generation as well. So it's very important that as the manager that we are, we consider the new generation and what are their expectations on the event that we are building. And that's critical.
I love how you speak about these events, because it is not so much that the event can be moved by the times, but the event can move the times. It can have a profound influence on the way the world sees a particular subject, and there's a responsibility in that, isn't there, Jean-Guillaume?
We have. We just completed the COP, again, desertification last Friday. The idea was not to do a major event. The idea was to put the people that are negotiating in the best position to come to a point, which is negotiating on the future. Yeah. And that's our role. Yeah. We are just a player, shadow player that helps this kind of thing emerging.
Yeah, and congratulations on that event just at the start of December as well. Rakan, how is our concept of mega events shifting? How would you distill it?
I think technology, it's helping a lot into the industry of conferences and events in general. It's adding value in terms of things happening on stage, the immersive technologies into the exhibition area and so on. Nothing would replace, as said yesterday by His Excellency, actually, Fahad Rashid, the human interaction also. But that's also important. But technology will make that even more richer, more feeling to the audience attending the event, attending the exhibition, or the mega events for that matter. So technology will help to enhance that experience with the human interaction.
Yeah, completely agree on. Andrew, you're sort of, again, in the vanguard of this, because you're pushing what people expect and experience.
Yeah, I mean, I believe the shift, as Rakan just said, is the technology. There have always been purposeful small meetings that things come out, but the amplification is now much larger. So us as mega events can learn from that and also utilize that technology. Yeah. But also at a large-scale event such as the World Defence Show, we have lots of smaller meetings and important meetings that happen. So I very much see the two complementing each other.
Interesting.
I think that's an important point, because as a large show, we need to get different types of people there. Yeah. And sometimes to get the very senior people, we need a very focused, high-level.
And Michael Milken spoke to this yesterday in his address on that power of intimacy for sometimes very senior people. That doesn't mean it has to be an entirely separate event, but perhaps part of a bigger sum. Abdulaziz, finally, a final word to you. What do you hope that mega events will come to signify in the years to come, particularly as we move towards 2030?
Well, I mean, I have to say, Riyadh is now, hosting all the mega events in the world. 2030 Expo, 2034 the World Cup. So there is a lot for Riyadh to start to make the city ready for this mega event, and it is ready.
Yeah, it is ready, and well, you have our full support on that. And in a sense, it goes back to this point about how all mega events link together. And so you must be in conversation with your World Cup colleagues.
Yes.
In that sequence of events.
Exactly, and there is common committees, and there will be common projects, especially to make the city readiness. We're going to make Riyadh city as a city to be ready for hosting Expo 2030
Yes.
and the World Cup 2030. That's going to come with infrastructure, with accommodation, and issues related to mobilities, etc. So that's 2030. Actually, the vision of Riyadh is 2030.
Yes.
All the mega projects of Riyadh will be launched in 2030. King Salman Park, Prince Mohammed Salman Boulevard.
Yeah.
If we go to the Cube, a lot. The visitor who will come to Expo will be stunned to be in Riyadh.
Yeah, it is an extraordinary few years to come. Honoured guests, thank you for everything that you're doing. Thank you for sharing so openly with us, especially about the challenges.
Yeah.
I know you will have triggered some fascinating corridor conversations still to come. And thank you for making this opening panel, in our humble opinion, a mega event in and of itself. So Abdulaziz, Jean-Guillaume, Andrew and Rakan, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.